Is Kingsley Quallar of Still Fresh Recoveries. Kingsley will be presenting to us on the transportation and infrastructure risks in South Africa. Please welcome Kingsley.
Is because for the case of Southern Africa, many of the countries in Southern Africa have very similar laws, and in fact, the jurisprudence from one country influences that and the other. So that is why we grouped them the way we did. So starting off with South Africa, we are going to look at the applicable laws, and in cases where there are no applicable laws, perhaps common law is going to apply, or in cases where there are no statutes, then common law would apply. So generally in South Africa, there isn't a statute that governs carriage of goods by road. So here we would mention the Prescription Act, which generally says where there is no contract, the time bar would be 3 years. So you'd have to bring a claim for any damage or loss of cargo within 3 years. But generally in South Africa, what you'd experience is the very popular use of standard trading terms and conditions, which have been carefully drafted by the South African Association of Freight Forwarders. And the application of this STC was tested in the case of Nago, and in this case, basically what happened was the courts looked at whether or not these terms and conditions were brought to the attention of the claimant, and they concluded that yes, it was, and for that reason, the standard terms and conditions would apply. And there are various cases that we have listed here. These cases tell a good story about the application of strict liability in South Africa. So starting from Trigedia, where a transportation of cattle resulted in loss or damage or destruction of some of them, the courts in that case decided that the carrier was responsible. And there you could see there was an element of strict liability there. But moving on to Davis several years later, while it is not a carriage case, this had to do with cargo that was stolen from a hotel. And in this case, the court held that because the hotel did not specifically point out their limitation of liability to their visitor, then they couldn't limit their liability, as it were. And you see there was a gradual shift from Trigedia. And finally, what the current law is Anderson, which provides that actually there's no more strict liability. So you'd have to prove negligence of some sort.